On a warm morning, sunlight filtered through the leaves of the farm, casting soft shadows on the ground. Tu Tien sat on an old wooden swing, lost in thought, as she admired the blooming flowers in the garden. Jack, after preparing 2 cups of hot tea, walked over, gently placing one in front of her. Before sitting down beside her, "Tien," Jack spoke, his voice warm and gentle. "I have an idea that I think you'll like." Tu Tien tilted her head slightly, a hint of curiosity in her eyes. "What idea, Jack?" Jack took her hand, wrapping it firmly in his own. "Your family has gone through so much to be reunited. Your father spent years searching for you, and your mother never stopped longing for her daughter. I think we should hold a small gathering to celebrate your family's reunion. What do you think?" Tu Tien was taken aback by Jack's suggestion. Her eyes blinked, filled with emotion. "A celebration for our reunion? You really thought of that?" Jack smiled, sincerity shining in his gaze. "Yes. I want to do something to mark this meaningful moment. And more than that, I want to express my gratitude to your parents for bringing such a wonderful person like you into this world." Tu Tien chuckled softly, though her eyes glistened, as if she were on the verge of tears. "You always make me feel special. But will my parents be comfortable with it? They've always lived simply and never liked anything too extravagant." "Don't worry," Jack reassured her, his voice full of confidence. "I just want a simple and warm gathering. We can invite close friends and neighbors, share a meal together, and exchange kind words. Nothing grand, just heartfelt." Tu Tien thought for a moment before nodding. "If that's the case, then I think it's a good idea. My parents probably won't object. But you have to promise not to make it too extravagant." "I promise," Jack grinned, lifting her hand to his lips for a gentle kiss. "Thank you for agreeing. I'll make sure everything is prepared with care." Tu Tien leaned her head against Jack's shoulder, feeling a deep warmth and peace settle over her. "Thank you, Jack, for everything you do for me and my family." Jack gently stroked her hair, his voice tender. "As long as you're happy, I'll do anything." That afternoon, after discussing the idea with Tu Tien, Jack made his way to the kitchen, where her parents were preparing dinner. Her mother was sorting vegetables, while her father tended to the fire. They both turned to look at Jack as he entered, their gazes filled with warmth. "Come sit down, Jack," Tu Tien's father said, gesturing to a nearby chair. "Is there something you'd like to discuss?" Jack smiled politely and took a seat. Looking at both of them, he spoke with a respectful yet sincere tone. "Sir, ma'am, I have something I'd like to discuss with you." Tu Tien's mother paused her work, turning to Jack with curiosity in her eyes. "What is it, Jack?" Jack spoke gently. "I think this is a very special time. Now that your family has been reunited, after so many years apart, I'd love to organize a small gathering to celebrate this reunion. But I wanted to ask for your thoughts first. Would this be something you'd be comfortable with?" Tu Tien's father placed a piece of firewood down, a trace of surprise in his eyes. "A gathering to celebrate our reunion? That's a nice idea, but is it really necessary? Our family has always lived simply, and I wouldn't want to trouble anyone." "Sir, I completely understand." Jack said, his eyes filled with sincerity. "I don't intend to make it extravagant or overwhelming. I just think it would be wonderful for us to sit together, share our happiness, and show gratitude to those who have supported your family." Tu Tien's mother looked at Jack, a gentle smile forming on her lips. Jack, you truly are a thoughtful young man. But I worry it might inconvenience our neighbors. Ma'am, I'll personally take care of everything. And only invite those closest to the family. I want this to be a warm, intimate occasion, where everyone can feel the love and togetherness of family, and more than anything, I see this as a chance to thank both of you for welcoming me into your lives. Hearing these words, Tu Tien's father nodded slowly, his eyes filled with appreciation. He stood up, placed a firm hand on Jack's shoulder and said, "You are a good man, Jack. I'm truly happy to see my daughter with someone as loving and thoughtful as you. If this is what you want, then I will support it too." Tien's mother also smiled, adding, "As long as this makes you happy, we will be happy too. I believe with your heart this gathering will be truly meaningful." Jack bowed his head slightly in gratitude, his heart filled with joy at their acceptance. In that moment, he silently vowed to make this gathering a cherished memory for the entire family. Jack, along with Tu Tien and her parents, began preparing for the gathering. This was not just a family reunion, but also an opportunity to thank the neighbors in the village who had supported Tu Tien's mother's family during the difficult years. Early in the morning, Jack, Tu Tien and her parents sat around a small bamboo table in the yard to discuss the plans. Jack started with a cheerful tone. "We'll invite everyone in the village. But Tien, is there anything special you'd like for the gathering?" Tu Tien smiled, her eyes sparkling with excitement. "Our village has a beautiful tradition where everyone brings a special dish from their family to share. Why don't we invite them to participate in the same way?" Tu Tien's father nodded in agreement. "That's a great idea. If everyone contributes, the party will be even more enjoyable. But we should also prepare a few main dishes to host our guests properly." Jack immediately offered then, "I'll go buy some extra ingredients and necessary supplies. I'd also love to try making a few special dishes for everyone." Teotihuacan's mother looked at Jack, a warm smile on her face. "Jack, you're so thoughtful. The people here are simple and don't need anything fancy. As long as it comes from the heart, everyone will appreciate it." The next day, the entire family was busy preparing. Jack and Tu Tien's father set up a large tent in the yard, using deep green tarps for shade. Tu Tien's mother went to the garden to pick the freshest herbs. Meanwhile, Tu Tien arranged tables and chairs and helped her mother wrap banele, a traditional delicacy of their village. Jack then headed to the market near the village, where fresh produce and local ingredients were sold. He bought a golden roasted pig and several jars of homemade corn liquor. From the villagers, he also purchased fragrant, sticky rice to prepare zue and juzak, the traditional, 5-colored sticky rice of the ethnic community. When everything was nearly ready, Tu Tien's father took a small gift bag and, along with Jack and Tu Tien, visited each house in the village to invite the neighbors. Small stilt houses were scattered along the winding dirt paths. The villagers were delighted to hear about the gathering at Tu Tien's home. "Mr. and Mrs. Lai, remember to bring your famous dried buffalo meat tomorrow too," Tien's father said to an elderly man weaving a bamboo basket on his porch. "Of course. And we'll also contribute a few jars of homemade corn liquor," Mrs. Lai responded with a bright smile. Jack bowed slightly and said with a friendly smile, "I'm looking forward to tasting your delicious dishes, ma'am." The villagers were impressed by the foreign young man, who was both respectful and approachable. Word of the celebration spread quickly, making the entire village buzz with excitement. On the day of the event, Tu Tien's family yard was more crowded than ever. Long tables were neatly arranged and covered with vibrant brocade cloths. Families from the village arrived, bringing their traditional dishes: grilled meat with makmat leaves, boiled chicken with lime leaves, 5-colored sticky rice banana flour salad and more. The kitchen at the back of the house was filled with the mouth-watering aroma of cooking, making everyone's appetite grow. Jack, dressed in simple yet neat clothes, busied himself, helping Tu Tien's father arrange the dishes. He even decorated a corner of the table with wildflowers he had picked that morning. As the feast began, Jack stood up, holding a cup of corn liquor, and smiled sincerely. He raised his voice so everyone could hear. "Thank you all for coming to celebrate with Tu Tien's family. This is my first time experiencing such a warm gathering, and I truly feel the unity and love of everyone here." The villagers responded with enthusiastic applause. An elderly man laughed heartily and said, "Jack, you're already the future son-in-law of this village." Tu Tien stood beside him, lowering her head shyly, her cheeks flushed pink, but her eyes were filled with happiness. The celebration lasted until late at night, filled with laughter and cheerful conversations. Under the starry sky, in that heartfelt atmosphere, Jack and Tu Tien's bond deepened even further, and her family truly felt a complete sense of happiness. As night fell, the glow of oil lamps and the flickering fire from the wood stove illuminated the yard. The villagers gathered around, singing traditional songs. The sound of the ken, flute and drums blended into the air, making the atmosphere even more lively. Jack sat beside Tu Tien, watching her radiant smile. For the first time in many years, Tu Tien's mother also smiled with a sense of peace, seeing the happiness of his loved ones around him. Jack felt a warmth filling his heart. "Tian, I think this is one of the best days of my life," Jack whispered in her ear. Tu Tien turned to look at him, her eyes shimmering. "Thank you, Jack. If it weren't for you, I wouldn't know how to make this day happen." Jack gently took her hand, his gaze full of sincerity. "Family is the most important thing. From now on, I want to build a true home with you. Not just for us, but for all our loved ones." Meanwhile, Tu Tien's parents were chatting with their neighbors about the changes in the village and reminiscing about old times. An elderly man, sitting nearby, looked at Tu Tien's mother and said, "You are truly lucky to have your family reunited. With a filial daughter like Tu Tien, and a kind future son-in-law like Jack, you will live in happiness." Tu Tien's mother gently wiped her tears. "I have waited too long for this day, and I believe heaven has sent Jack to bring light to my family." Jack approached, bowed respectfully to Tu Tien's parents, and softly said, "Uncle, Aunt, I sincerely thank you for welcoming me as part of your family. I promise to do everything to make Tu Tien happy." Tu Tien's father patted Jack on the shoulder, his voice filled with emotion. "You are a good man, I can see that clearly. Tu Tien has chosen the right person. Love her wholeheartedly, and face life's challenges together." Jack nodded firmly, his eyes shining with determination, as if he had engraved every word into his heart. As the night grew late, the villagers gradually left, carrying with them the warmth and joy of this special gathering. When only the family remained, Jack, Tu Tien and her parents sat around the table, sipping hot tea. Tu Tien looked at her parents, her eyes filled with emotions. "Mom, Dad, I'm so happy. This is the family I have always longed for. And I will do everything to protect this happiness. Tu Tien's mother took her hand, her voice trembling with emotion. You have returned, and that is the most important thing. Our family will never be apart again. Jack sat beside them, gazing at Tu Tien with deep affection in his heart. He knew he had found not only a life partner, but also a family he was willing to cherish forever. That night, in the peaceful silence of the mountains and forests, a reunited family found true serenity and profound love. Their happiness shone like the stars, glowing brightly in the vast night sky. The next morning, as the soft sunlight gently filtered through the treetops, Tu Tien and Jack woke up to the tranquility and fresh air of the mountains. The crowing of roosters, the chirping of birds, and the murmuring of the stream blended into a natural symphony, bringing them a sense of peace and relaxation. As they stepped into the yard, the villagers had already arrived early, bringing simple gifts like corn gourds, sweet potatoes, and bundles of wild vegetables. Everyone was smiling, radiating warmth, and offering their blessings to Tu Tien's family. Good morning, Miss Tu Tien. Good morning, Jack. This is a small gift from my family. Some sweet potatoes we grew ourselves. Wishing your family happiness and prosperity, said a middle-aged woman. Her hands were rough from hard work, but her eyes shone with sincerity. Tu Tien was deeply moved and bowed her head in gratitude. Thank you so much, your kindness truly warms my heart. An elderly man smiled gently and turned to Jack. You are a good young man here in our village. We may not have wealth, but we live with sincerity and kindness. You came from far away, but now you are one of us. Jack bowed respectfully and replied, Sir, you are absolutely right. I am truly grateful for the hospitality and warmth of everyone here. The love and kindness in this village make me feel like I belong. The villagers eagerly shared stories about life in the village, the hardships, but also the deep bonds of love and support they had for one another. Some spoke of the stormy seasons, when the entire village would come together to rebuild homes lost to floods. Others reminisce about New Year celebrations, when everyone contributed whatever they had, so that no one would feel left out. Tu Tien listened intently, her eyes glistening with emotion. She realized that although life here was simple, the spirit of kindness and solidarity was incredibly rich. Jack, do you see the people here? Even though they don't have much, are always ready to share and help one another. I feel so lucky to have grown up in this land. Jack gently held Tu Tien's hand, his gaze filled with warmth. I understand now. This is why you have such a kind and compassionate heart. This place and these people have shaped the Tu Tien that I love. As the villagers gradually made their way home, Tu Tien and Jack stood by the gate, watching them leave, their hearts full of gratitude. Every step, every joyful voice of these simple yet warm-hearted people made them feel the true meaning of human connection. Jack softly said to Tien, I have learned so much from this place. I now understand that true happiness does not come from material wealth, but from the simple, beautiful moments of life. Like the love of a community, the act of giving, and the warmth of human kindness. Tu Tien smiled, her eyes shining like the stars above. I feel the same way, Jack. No matter where I go or what I do, this homeland and these people will always be an inseparable part of my heart. That evening, as they sat by the fire with her parents, Tu Tien shared her thoughts about the villagers, kindness and generosity. Her mother smiled warmly and said, Here people may not have much, but they always have open hearts. Even in poverty, they are willing to share and welcome one another. Now that we have Jack, I truly feel that my daughter is blessed." Jack bowed his head and spoke with sincerity. "Please rest assured, I will do everything I can to keep Tu Tien happy. And I will always cherish the love and kindness that everyone here has given me." Under the soft glow of the fire, the family sat together, their hearts overflowing with happiness and gratitude. In this village, love and kindness intertwined, creating a warmth and sense of belonging that could never be replaced.